According to reports, Chelsea players actively want to see Xabi Alonso as the next manager. The Guardian reports that Alonso is interested in the job if he gets some control over the transfers and who comes in and who goes out. Chelsea flat out refused to sell Joao Pedro to Barcelona this summer and consider him integral to the future of the squad. And could we be jumping back in for another goalkeeping target that we've been talking about quite a lot over the last year? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, that means, what, the amount of Xabi Alonso news that's coming out is crazy. It's starting to feel like it's possible, it's getting closer, and supposedly all signs are pointing towards Alonso being the next Chelsea manager. So let's just dive right into all of the news today. PYS posted this via Kieran McGill from the Daily Mail. Some representatives of Chelsea players have not been shy in telling us, when contacted privately, that Xabi Alonso would be considered a real coup in the eyes of their clients. So what that is basically saying is that reporters, the likes of Kieran Gill, have been reaching out to representatives and agents of the players to find out who they're interested in having in the dugout, and Xabi Alonso seems to be the preferred option. So that really makes sense, doesn't it? Because what we need is a manager that the players are willing to play for. Like, it's just been so difficult. The Liam Rosenior moment was so difficult as well. Like, you know, watching the players actively have given up on him and just not buying into what he was selling or whatever. But at the end of the day, Xabi Alonso comes with so much prestige. As a player, as a manager, he's achieved amazing things. And based on what's going on at Real Madrid right now, he can't really exactly be blamed for finding it difficult when he was there earlier this season. So that's massive news, man. That's absolutely massive news. The fact that the players are all kind of gunning for this would give you some hope. The ownership and the sporting directors know that this is the guy that the players want. And we are talking about the Cole Palmers, the Moises Caicedos, the Joao Pedros, the guys who we are looking to build our team around, supposedly, collaboratively, are interested in Xabi Alonso being the new manager, and that's the kind of guy they want to go for. So if that gets them to offer Xabi Alonso a little bit more of the control that he wants with the players coming in and out and how he builds the squad, that's only a good thing. EYS also posted this via The Guardian. Chelsea have been waiting for Alonso to come on the market and have been tracking his progress since 2022. So that's really interesting in itself, isn't it? Because that's, you know, the season before, the fabled invincible double that he managed at Bayer Leverkusen. And it makes sense. Xabi Alonso hasn't been available up until now. So every single time we've been in a position where we're looking for a manager, Xabi Alonso hasn't been available. He was at Sociedad, and then he was at Bayer Leverkusen. He went straight to Real Madrid, and right now he's available. And that is very believable. When you think about the kind of managers that we've gone in for, they were always looking for young project managers who favour possession-based football, and that kind of fits everything Xabi Alonso's about to a T. So look, whether this is PR or not, I'm sure we'll have a conversation about it in the comments, get it in there, but for me, this actually seems believable. I think if Xabi Alonso had have been at the market at the time we got Pochettino or the time we got Enzo Maresca, then maybe that's what would have happened. I guess the reason it didn't happen when the Liam Rosenior thing happened was because A, there was really not that much time, and that, you know, the negotiation for how much control he's going to want is going to take a long time. But also, supposedly, they were concerned about Liam Rosenior drawing the eyes of other Premier League teams at the time. PYS also reposted this via the Guardian Sport. The situation with Chelsea and Alonso is expected to accelerate after the FA Cup final. Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart recognise someone of Alonso's stature must be given a say, and they will not impose signings on him. So look, it all just sounds great, doesn't it? It all just sounds great. Is it too good to be true? I don't know. But, you know, I kind of expected at least not to really hear something until the end of the season, truth be told, because we've got the FA Cup, there's still games going on. But the thing is with Alonso, if he is the top target, he is available. So I think it's important to get the FA Cup out of the way first and make sure that Callum McFarlane has got the team's eyes firmly set on that FA Cup final without any thoughts about who might be staying or who might be going if Alonso comes in. And, you know what I mean? It does make sense that we're going to leave it at least until the one moment we might actually be able to win something this season. But this is good news as well, because this kind of says that Alonso is the main target and we're not necessarily going to be going for any managers that are currently in jobs. And to me, that just makes sense as well. And I would love to see in the next week after the FA Cup final, talks for this really start to ramp up even before the season's end, because there's not so much to play for left in the league, apart from potentially playing a part in relegating Tottenham. And guys, if you have made it this far into today's episode of the Stamford Sync, please do me the distinct honour of liking, sharing and hyping the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so more Xabi Alonso news because there's just so much at the moment. PYS reposted this as well via the Guardian Sport. Alonso wants some assurances, including a say over who signs, and the indications are Chelsea intend to give him what he needs. There is a growing sense in the industry a deal will be agreed. So there's a couple of interesting things to take here. The first thing is Alonso is not going to walk into the same project that we've been looking at, not the same project that Maresca was under, Pochettino was under, or Liam Rosenior was under. He will be able to take some sporting control. And if Alonso comes in and says, I need 2 centre-backs, they'll get him 2 centre-backs. Unlike with Maresca at the start of the season, Levi Colwill got injured and he said, get me a centre-back. And they were like, you've got lots of centre-backs, you'll probably be fine. So hopefully, all the news is pointing towards the end of the farcical model that we have been working under. Some elements of the model are going to remain. We're still going to try and go in for young players. That's never going to change because that's where the money's at. But in terms of the sporting project and the immediate impact on the team, Xabi Alonso sounds like he's going to be given a lot more power, and especially compared to the last couple of guys that we've had. So the other big thing here is there is a growing sense in the industry a deal will be agreed, so that's really good. The big question has been the Liverpool thing. For me, I've always just kind of thought that Liverpool will and should stick with Arne Slot. He's had a difficult season and not been able to push for a title challenge this year, but he won the Premier League last season. Jurgen Klopp only won the Premier League once at 7-8 years at Liverpool, and Slot has been bought an entire half of a new team at the end of the day. He's had a lot of money thrown at him. He's trying to do a lot of things at the same time, bed the new players in, try and implement more of his own style of football. But at the end of the day, he won the Premier League in his first season. That's unbelievable. So yeah, that makes sense for me. I don't think Xabi Alonso is necessarily going to wait for Liverpool. And I have a feeling that if Liverpool were thinking about sacking Slot, they'd already be talking to Xabi Alonso and he'd probably be well informed, because you would have thought he'd be the next choice easily. But if they are sticking with Slot, it makes sense that Xabi Alonso is getting closer to the Chelsea project because the Liverpool one's not going to be on the table. PYS also posted this via Ben Jacobs. I was going to say Jen Jacobs because it's Jacobs Ben. It always messes my brain up. Chelsea are working on Xabi Alonso and could see more developments in the next days. Their preference at this stage is for Alonso over Iraola. So that's via Ben Jacobs and Give Me Sport Market Madness. So this is great news for me personally, because I just think Iraola's football is suicidal at Chelsea at the moment with the players that we've got. I think Iraola could do very well at a top club. And it isn't me saying that I don't think Iraola's got what it takes. I just think, looking at the squad that we've had built for us, we are being built in order to play possession-based football. And that is what Xabi Alonso is, and Iraola is, although it was 49% possession for Bournemouth this season. So that is respectable for an admittedly chaotic basketball style team. But I think the overhaul needed is much, much larger for Iraola than it is for Xabi Alonso. I think Xabi Alonso can come in and add a couple of pieces to the jigsaw and fix it all up, whereas I think Iraola would have been a bit more of a come in, tear it all up, throw everyone out, bring a whole new team in, and that could have been A, dangerous, and B, the project could have taken longer to kind of get back on its feet. So for me, if it's a choice out of the two of them, I'm picking Xabi Alonso every single day, but that isn't to say that I don't think Iraola would do well somewhere like Man United. I think, although it does look like that there's an offer on the table for Carrick now, I think he'd probably do well there. But what I think is going to happen with Iraola is I imagine that he's probably going to end up at Crystal Palace because they've offered him a deal with full sporting control, which Glasner didn't even get, and he literally won them a cup. So for some reason, Crystal Palace are looking at Iraola and mate, come here, it's your team, do what you want with it. And that is going to be an attractive proposition. Crystal Palace are good at developing players, attracting players. And, you look at some of the players that they've sold in the last few seasons, the likes of Eze and Michael Olise and Mark Gurhey, some absolutely unbelievable players that come out of Crystal Palace. So maybe that's kind of what I expect Iraola to end up doing, is to go to Crystal Palace if he doesn't get the Chelsea job. And one more, just to really, really push it home, PYS posted this via the Guardian Sport. Breaking: Chelsea players believe Xabi Alonso is the ideal candidate to become their next head coach. Talks with Alonso's camp are moving in the right direction, and the feeling in the dressing room is that the former Real Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen manager is the man to get the team back on track. So that's a reiteration of what we talked about earlier. With the agents being contacted, but it looked like, I say, this is just great news that if we're really going in for this deal and the players will be ready, it's not going to be like when Maresca came in. Albeit he did really well and he won the team over in the grand scheme of things. He'd come from winning the championship at Leicester and being an assistant at Man City when they won the treble, so that was impressive nonetheless. But it's the same when Liam Rosenior came in. It's like, who's this guy, substitute teacher or whatever? And if you think about kind of who we've looked best under, really. It's Maresca largely, but football was a bit boring and turgid and a bit difficult sometimes. But you could see that the players respected Pochettino when he was here as well. And he didn't even win a huge amount. He won in France, but obviously didn't win anything in the UK. But with Xabi Alonso, it's not even just about the Bundesliga win. It's about the invincible double. That's absolutely unbelievable. It's incredible. So I love the idea that the team are behind this as well. And it really helps everything feel like it's moving in the right direction if there's some sort of idea that the players are excited about working under Xabi Alonso. So that's all the Xabi Alonso stuff today, guys. Tell me what you think about everything. So do you think it's just PR that the players are on board? Personally, I can kind of see that being the case. Do you think it's true that we have been looking at him for a long time? Again, I can 100% believe that to be the case because he fits the profile of the manager they've been looking for. Young, possession-based system guy. Ultimately would want more control than they'd probably have liked, but we've gotten to this point now where they realise that they're not very good at making decisions, so they kind of need someone to come in, right? So let me know what you think about the Xabi Alonso situation down in the comments. Right now, we're going to move on and talk about Joao Pedro. There's been some news recently that Barcelona are really interested in Joao Pedro. It's been going on for a little while. Robert Lewandowski looks like he's on his way out, so it looks like they'll be looking for a new number 9. PYS posted this via Kieran McGill from the Daily Mail. Chelsea consider Joao Pedro an untouchable and will not sell him. Chelsea say that this summer will be about strengthening the squad for the new head coach, not weakening it. That's good news as well. Absolutely love that. Like, the thing is, it would have to be crazy money as well, wouldn't it? Because we bought him for 60 mil and... even 80 doesn't feel like it'd have to be 90 mil plus, surely, to justify it, because he's still on a long contract. He scored loads of goals this season. For me, like it wouldn't be like, oh, Barcelona come in with 60 mil and that's just kind of the end of it. Joao Pedro's been doing really, really well at Chelsea, albeit kind of bookended because he was a bit flat in the middle of the season. But yeah, the sentiment here that I really appreciate is we're looking to strengthen the squad and not weaken it. And regardless of how difficult things have been this season, I never really foresaw this situation where we lose Enzo, Cucurella, Cole Palmer, Joao Pedro, all of our big guys in one window. It's just not going to happen. Even if you just think about the insane amount of money that people would have to spend to get them out of the club, Chelsea aren't just going to be like, yeah, we'll sell all of our best players and start again. No, they've been building this squad for a couple of years now. Things have been difficult, but we have a very solid core of players that could do something special. PYS also posted this via The Athletic. Just in, Chelsea will not entertain any bids for Joao Pedro despite Barcelona interest. He's not for sale. So it's good that this is coming from a couple of angles, right? Kieran McGill from the Daily Mail and obviously The Athletic as well. And one more on Joao Pedro is from Fabrizio Romano himself. PYS posted this. Chelsea believe their new project, which starts this summer, has to include Joao Pedro as a crucial player. No intention of letting him leave. Yes, keep him. And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because Joao Pedro has got all of these qualities that are make him a very interesting number 9, because he can drop deep, he can link up play, he's a creative player. Although he's not been taking penalties for us, actually, he scored 5 penalties at Brighton the year before he came to us, so he can take a penalty as well. And I think he could be a really interesting player in an Alonso system, one way or the other. So Xabi Alonso tried to change Real Madrid to the 3 at the back when he went there. And obviously ended up going back to the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-3-3 or whatever it is. But if that is the formation that we end up going for under Xabi Alonso, Joao Pedro can play in either of those half spaces behind the striker or as the number 9, because he is very good at both of them. And the good thing about that compared to playing him as a number 10 is he won't be quite as deep as he was when he was a number 10. So he'll still have license to get forward. And we've got Emmanuel Omega coming in. I've kind of proposed this in one of my videos already. I love the idea of Joao Pedro and Cole Palmer in the half spaces, Omega up top, and that gives you loads of options, loads of permutations. Cole Palmer can drift into the centre of attack, and Omega and Joao Pedro can go play as dual strikers. Wicked, love that. Omega is quite well known for drifting out to the left, quite a lot like Nicholas Jackson was, and that would allow Joao Pedro to launch into that number 9 role. He can score loads of goals, he can score bicycle kicks, he can get a poacher's goal, he can score headers as well. Joao Pedro is potentially looking like a really, really strong number 9 for the Premier League if he continues to kick on, because he's got, like I say, all of these like 9.5 qualities where he can drop deep and he can create play and stuff, but he can score proper strikers' goals. And when he's on his best day, he's got a killer instinct. So I love the idea of Joao Pedro being kind of the foundation that we build this attack around 100%, whether it be with him in a half space or up top. But either way, it's good to know that Barcelona will not be getting their grubby little mitts on him. So one last story here that I want to talk about threw me off off a little bit. It is from Transfer News Live, and it is posted via Gazzetta dello Sport, which is an Italian outlet. Chelsea remain interested in Mike Maignan despite his recent AC Milan renewal until 2031. The French goalkeeper wants 2 guarantees to stay at Milan long term: Champions League football and Allegri remaining in charge. If either changes, Chelsea could return for him in the summer. So this is interesting because I mentioned something the other day about the goalkeeper situation. What we haven't had for a while now is like a third keeper that's like an older experienced head, or just an experienced goalkeeper in general. We've had young goalkeepers for what feels like forever, since Kepa, and people have like chopped and changed in and out with Kepa, but we've had Kepa, Edouard Mendy wasn't particularly old, Jordi Petrovic was a young keeper as well, and obviously Robert Sanchez, when we bought him, was a reasonably young keeper. Philip Jorgensen's a young keeper. We just keep throwing young keepers in the sticks, and I do feel like when you're in a situation like Robert Sanchez drops the ball a little bit, you need someone there, don't you? So the difficult thing about Mike Maignan, I think he's like 31, 32, so he's not old for a goalkeeper by any stretch. And if you buy Mike Maignan, he probably doesn't come in to play a backup. As much as that would be nice and that suits what we all want to see, he comes in to play that first team role. The other thing about this is the reason that the Mike Maignan deal was attractive before was because he only had like a year left on his deal, so he was going to be really cheap. We tried to go in for, I think it was like 8 million we wanted to pay for him. He ended up staying at AC Milan, but he signed a deal until 2031 now. That changes things. That really, really, really changes things, because all of a sudden you're looking at like 30, 40 mil for the same goalkeeper we could have got for 8 mil a season ago. Seems a little bit wild. Obviously, Robert Sanchez, you know, had a great Club World Cup, and that seemed to be the beginning of his like turnaround, because he has been mostly good this season, apart from the moments when he hasn't. But Mike Maignan, if we get a Mike Maignan, for me, that spells the end of Robert Sanchez. Like, if we go in for a Mike Maignan, then Penders comes back, Mike Maignan is there, they're the two, I think. It still feels like Penders is probably going to come in. Mike Maignan, reasonably good with the ball at his feet, good shot stopper, and obviously a lot more experienced than Mike Penders is as well. So I'd really like to know what you think about this one in particular. Mike Maignan is not going to be an 8 mil snip anymore, but he probably would be able to push a move if he doesn't get one of those two things where it needs to be both of those two things, he said, apparently, according to this article. Champions League football for AC Milan and them keeping hold of Allegri. And I don't know much about what's going on at AC Milan at the moment. I know they've had a bit of a rough couple of seasons and they're not exactly, knocking it out of the park at the moment. So it's an interesting situation, isn't it? Because he did only just sign this new deal in very recent memory, and now he's kind of making demands and stuff. I would like to see Mike Maignan in a Chelsea shirt next season. I'm not going to lie. I would like to have seen him at the beginning of this season as well, because I haven't been sure about Robert Sanchez for all of this time. So, guys, let me know what you think. Do you think that... So, the first thing is, like, should we just keep Robert Sanchez? So, for me, and I'd love to talk to you guys about this in the comments. For me, Robert Sanchez on his best day, yeah, he's been very good. But if we do go for a Xabi Alonso, that is going to be another manager that wants the goalkeeper to be able to play with the ball at his feet. And Xabi Alonso's football is basically a good version of what Liam Rosenior was trying to do. And Robert Sanchez just fell flat, completely fell flat. When Liam Rosenior tried to change his role a little bit, absolutely fell flat. The other thing is Robert Sanchez has been dropped time and time and time again. He was dropped by Pochettino for Jordi Petrovic. He was dropped by Maresca for Philip Jorgensen at one point last year, and he was dropped by Liam Rosenior for Philip Jorgensen this year as well. And he was also the third choice goalkeeper at Brighton, although he did spend a little bit of time as their first choice keeper. They replaced him. So when we got him, he wasn't even their first choice keeper. So for me, the thing about Robert Sanchez, it's not about how good he is on his best day. It's about he hasn't ever gone through a season, at Chelsea at least, where he's kept his position for the whole season. How many teams that are out there winning stuff do you see dropping goalkeepers halfway through the season? We can have a conversation about Man City and Gianluigi Donnarumma, who came in for Trafford, right? Gianluigi Donnarumma hasn't been dropped for Trafford since he came in. And Arsenal had this situation with... I can't remember his name. The last Ramsdale, was it? Aaron Ramsdale and David Raya, and that was kind of a battle. It wasn't like one's been dropped for the other. David Raya has been the first choice goalkeeper at Arsenal all season, and they're going to win the league. Man United have had situations with goalkeepers, but I think they've stuck to their most recent goalkeeper. I can't remember his name. But the thing is, if you want to do well, keeping your goalkeeper for the most part and not dropping him for poor performances is just kind of the way to go. You think about any season that we've done well, like Petr Cech was just undisputed first choice. When Courtois came in, there was a battle. And when Courtois won that battle, Petr Cech left because Courtois, undisputed first choice. Think about how difficult things got with Kepa. Kepa had the same sort of kind of anxiety issues that Robert Sanchez had, and wasn't able to keep consistent, and we kept dropping him, and then Edouard Mendy came in. Edouard Mendy didn't get dropped for poor performances. He ended up getting sold because he didn't fit what the guys wanted in goal anymore. So for me, the goalkeeper is such a solid goalkeeper that can perform for an entire season with confidence is so useful and so important to a successful team. And as much as I am always really happy when Sanchez pulls out a good performance, part of me always in the back of my head is like, this might just be that day though. This might just be that day that Robert Sanchez can't hack it and throws the ball in the back of his net or makes a silly mistake or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, but let me know what you think about the goalkeeper situation in the comments. Right guys, that's it. So let me know about everything. In fact, there's so much news today and a lot of it is very Xabi Alonso centric. So we're hearing lots of noise about the players being interested in it. We're hearing noise about supposedly in the industry, it feels like the Xabi Alonso to Chelsea is a real thing that can happen, and I am starting to believe it. I'm starting to believe it. So guys, tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you think about the Joao Pedro situation. I, for one, am absolutely ecstatic that noise is coming out that he's not for sale. Absolutely love that. And the Mike Maignan situation, a really difficult one. The goalkeeper situation is going to be so interesting depending on who the next manager is at Chelsea. So I'd love to know what you think. Nice one, guys. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, and I'll catch up with you all very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.